No one saw the envelope coming until it blew up a marriage in under 60 seconds. 7 years ago, Ethan Cole came home to a small farmhouse at the end of a dusty county road and found a plain, unmarked packet on the kitchen table. Inside were photos and printed messages carefully staged, making it look like his wife, Marilyn Hart, had been seeing someone behind his back and plotting to take the family land. Ethan's jaw locked. His hands shook, and instead of asking one simple question, he swallowed the lie whole. Marilyn stood there 4 months pregnant, one palm pressed to her belly, like she could shield the baby from his anger. "Ethan, please, this isn't real," she said, voice breaking. He didn't hear her. He didn't want to. He grabbed his keys, threw out the words that cut deepest "I should have known," and walked out the door like the last decade meant nothing. The screen door slapped shut. Silence flooded the room. Marilyn didn't chase him down the driveway. She just sank into a chair, staring at the wood grain like it might explain why love can turn into cruelty so fast. That night, the neighbor Mrs. Jenkins showed up without knocking. She didn't lecture. She didn't pry. She simply sat beside Marilyn and whispered, "Breathe, honey." 1 minute at a time, and outside the porch light stayed on, even though the man who left never looked back. Marilyn didn't fall apart in a way anyone could photograph. She fell apart in the quiet where nobody claps, nobody notices, and the bills still show up on time. The morning after Ethan left, the air in the house felt different. Not colder, just empty. Marilyn moved through the kitchen like she was borrowing someone else's life. She rinsed a mug that hadn't been used. She folded a dish towel that was already folded. Then she stopped, one hand braced on the counter, the other resting on her stomach, as a small flutter reminded her, you don't get to quit. Outside, the land didn't care about heartbreak. The chickens still needed feed. The porch steps still needed fixing. The weeds still rose like they were getting paid for it. That's when Mrs. Jenkins became the difference between drowning and surviving. She showed up before lunch with a thermos of coffee and a grocery sack that smelled like fresh bread. No big speech. No, I told you so. She just set everything down, took one look at Marilyn's swollen eyes, and pulled out a chair. "Eat something," she said, steady as church bells. "Then we'll talk." Marilyn tried to speak, but her throat tightened. The only thing that came out was a raw, shaky whisper. "He thinks I know what he thinks," Mrs. Jenkins cut in, not unkindly. "And I know you. Those are two different things." They sat there a long time. The clock ticked. A truck passed on the road and kept going. Marilyn's fingers trembled around the warm cup like she was holding on to the last bit of heat in her world. "I don't even know where to start," Marilyn admitted. Mrs. Jenkins reached across the table and squeezed her hand, firm, motherly, real. "You start with today," she said. "Then tomorrow. And if all you can manage is 1 hour, we do 1 hour." Marilyn nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. Not dramatic, just honest. Outside, the porch light was still there, still hanging, still working. And for the first time since the door slammed, Marilyn understood something hard and holy. She wasn't alone, not anymore. Winter didn't wait for Marilyn to heal. It came anyway. Sharp winds, long nights, and mornings where the frost clung to the window like a warning. And then one stormy evening, it happened. Marilyn went into labor alone, not in a movie way, no dramatic music, just a woman gripping the bedpost, breathing through pain that felt bigger than her own body while the old farmhouse creaked and the rain hammered the roof like it had something to prove. She fumbled for the phone with shaking fingers. 1 call. 2 rings. Jenkins, the voice answered, half asleep, instantly alert. "It's time," Marilyn whispered. 15 minutes later, headlights swept across the yard. Mrs. Jenkins burst through the door in her housecoat and Boots' hair pinned up like she'd been ready for this all her life. "All right, sweetheart," she said, already moving, already commanding the room. "We're not doing this scared. We're doing this smart." By sunrise, a baby girl lay against Marilyn's chest. Tiny fists, pink cheeks, lungs strong enough to fill the whole house with life. Marilyn named her Lily Hart, not because it sounded pretty, Because lilies grow back, even after winter, even after being trampled. Years passed the way they always do on land that demands your hands, seasons stitched together by work. Lily learned to walk on uneven porch boards, to chase chickens across the yard, to laugh with dirt on her knees and sunlight in her hair. She knew the smell of fresh rain on dry soil. She knew how to snap green beans and count eggs like it was normal. What she didn't know was her father. Sometimes late at night, Lily would press her small hand to Marilyn's cheek and ask soft as a prayer, "Mom?" "Where's mine?" Marilyn would swallow hard, forcing her voice to stay steady. "He's far away, baby." "How far?" Marilyn would look out the window toward the dark road, the same road Ethan vanished down, and answer with the truth she could live with. "Far enough that we built a whole life without him." Meanwhile, Ethan Cole rebuilt his life the way some men build a wall, brick by brick, higher and colder, until nothing can get in. He didn't go back to the next town over. He went states away. New zip code, new phone, new story. In Boise, he ran into an ambitious contractor named Caleb Mercer, the kind of guy who shakes your hand like a deal is already done. They started small, hauling, scrap-flipping old equipment, taking the jobs nobody wanted. Ethan worked like a man trying to outrun a ghost. 15-hour days, sleepless nights, coffee instead of meals, pride instead of peace. And it worked. Years later, people started calling him Sir with that careful tone. He wore clean boots, drove a truck that still smelled new, signed papers on polished tables. Money came fast enough to make you think it could patch anything. But here's what nobody tells you about getting rich while you're running from your own mess. The silence gets louder. Some nights, Ethan would wake up in a big house that didn't feel like home, staring at a ceiling he didn't recognize. The room would be spotless. Quiet. Too quiet. He'd reach for his phone out of habit, then remember there was no one left to call. Caleb would slap him on the back during meetings. "We're killing it, brother. You ever think about settling down?" Ethan would force a grin and tilt his glass. "Yeah, maybe someday." But when the laughter faded and the doors closed, his mind would betray him, flash after flash. Marilyn's hand on her belly. The screen door slamming. That porch light burning like a question he refused to answer. He told himself it wasn't guilt. It was just old memories. Yet every time he